He had everything money could buy: private doctors, luxury hospitals, and the best care in the world. Yet, as his heartbeat faded and 20 specialists surrounded his bed, no one could explain why a billionaire was slipping away. His wealth couldn't save him, and science had no answer. Then, in the quiet corner of that mansion, a woman most people barely noticed, the housekeeper, saw something the doctors didn't. Something small, something everyone else ignored. She wasn't trained in medicine. She didn't wear a white coat. But in that moment, her eyes caught what millions of dollars in expertise had missed. What she discovered would not only expose the truth behind his mysterious illness, it would reveal something far darker. Something that had been hiding beneath years of power, privilege, and prejudice. Because sometimes, it's not ignorance that blinds people, it's who they choose not to see. And what she uncovered changed everything. Where are you watching from today? Drop it in the comments before we dive in. It started like any other morning in the Harrington estate. Evelyn, the housekeeper, moved through the marble halls with her usual quiet grace, polishing silver and arranging fresh flowers. She had worked for the Harrington family for almost 10 years, long enough to know every creak of the staircase and every flicker of the old chandeliers. Mr. Harrington, the billionaire, was known for his power, his precision, and his strict schedules. To the outside world, he was a symbol of success. But inside those towering walls, his life was carefully controlled, isolated, and cold. Evelyn had seen him change over the years. Once energetic and commanding, now pale, tired, and withdrawn. The whispers among the staff said he was sick, but no one knew why. The doctors came and went, their cars lined up like clockwork in the driveway, each leaving with the same confusion. They ran tests, prescribed treatments, and charged fortunes, but nothing worked. Still, Evelyn carried on with her duties. She wasn't supposed to ask questions. But she couldn't ignore the feeling that something wasn't right. Every day, she noticed the same strange detail: a glass of water left half-drunk, pills untouched on the table, a faint smell in the air that didn't belong. And every day, she'd see Mr. Harrington's condition worsen. His voice weakened, his color drained, and his confidence disappeared. She wanted to say something, to someone, but who would listen? She was the help. Invisible to most of the people who lived and worked there. But deep down, she knew something was coming. Something that would force her to see, and be seen, in a way she never expected. Then came the day everything changed. Evelyn was dusting the study when she heard shouting from upstairs. Doctors rushed past her, panic in their eyes. Mr. Harrington had collapsed again. His heart monitor screamed through the hallway as they tried to revive him. For a moment, she froze. Then instinct took over, she followed them. The room was chaos. Machines beeped, nurses shouted, and the billionaire's face was ghostly white. 20 doctors stood there, each one trained, confident, and expensive. But beneath their skill was fear. Nothing they did worked. His pulse was fading, his breathing shallow. Evelyn stood by the door, unnoticed, until she saw something that made her step forward. On the bedside table sat a glass of water, the same one she'd been cleaning up for weeks. Tiny white residue at the bottom caught her eye. She had seen it before, every morning after his nurse refilled his glass. She moved closer. "Please," she said softly, "don't give him that." Her voice trembled. One of the doctors turned sharply. Step back, please. This is critical." But Evelyn shook her head. "It's the water. Something's in it." They ignored her at first. A housekeeper couldn't possibly know better than 20 experts. But then Mr. Harrington's son walked in, terrified, desperate, and said, "Wait." "What did she say?" Evelyn pointed to the glass. "It smells off. It always does. I clean it every day." The doctors hesitated, uncertain. Finally, one tested the water. His expression changed instantly. There it was, traces of a slow-acting toxin. Something subtle, something easy to miss. It had been building up in his system for months. Not a disease. Not bad luck. Someone was poisoning him. The room fell silent. For a moment, no one spoke. Evelyn's heart pounded. She wasn't sure if she had just saved a man's life or exposed a secret that could destroy her. In the hours that followed, everything came undone. The police were called. The nurse, who had been with the family for years, quietly slipped away before anyone could question her. Evidence later revealed she'd been manipulating the medication, paid off by someone who stood to gain from Mr. Harrington's death. The family was shattered. The empire shaken. Mr. Harrington survived, but barely. When he finally opened his eyes, the first person he asked for wasn't his son, his lawyer, or his doctor. It was Evelyn. She stood at his bedside, unsure if she should speak. He looked at her for a long moment and whispered, "You saved me." That moment changed everything. Not just for him, but for her. For the first time, she wasn't invisible. For the first time, someone saw her. He recovered slowly, surrounded by silence and regret. The truth spread across the media, but what they missed was the deeper story, the one Evelyn lived. A story about how power can blind, how prejudice can silence, and how sometimes, the people we overlook are the ones who hold the truth. Evelyn never asked for praise. She went back to work quietly, cleaning the same halls, folding the same sheets. But the world around her had changed. Mr. Harrington began to speak differently, to his staff, to his family, to himself. He realized that empathy was worth more than status. And that sometimes, humanity shows up in the most unexpected places. He made it home that night, but not unchanged. The fear, the humiliation, the reality of what had happened, it would stay with him forever. And he wasn't alone. This wasn't just one story, it was the story of millions. A story that keeps repeating. The question is, how many more times before the world finally listens? If this story moved you, don't just scroll away, share it. Because every time we talk about it, another voice like Evelyn's gets heard. Hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, do you think the world is finally learning to listen?